What up, guys? Welcome back to Base Damage. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day today. Today, going to be taking a look at a deck based around a very fun combo and just one of my favorite characters who's no longer with Hololive, obviously, but still is one of my favorite characters ever, and that is Coco. She is really awesome, and this Climax combo that works with this is really cool as well. This entire deck is, I'm going to say right now, this is not even this deck's final form. We have obviously Volume 2 coming out, and I plan to upgrade this deck and work on it more. But I'm honestly, this is one of my favorite decks that I've messed with Hololive so far. And I want to keep making this specific deck better over time and work with more ratios. So this deck is going to get showcased a lot. I'm just going to say it right now. But this has been very fun to test play and work around, and I wanted to go ahead and bring you kind of like the first iteration after I've like tweaked ratios and whatnot. But let's get right into it. So first off, this is an 8-choice deck based off of the Coco, and the level 1 from the trial deck, Shiranui Flare. And this is a bit more of a defensive like Climax combo build, and I've really liked it because of that. So obviously, let's get right into it. So the thing that this is the card I wanted to base the entire deck around, obviously, is Towards the Future Together. Kiryu Coco is a 3/2/9/5. During your turn, this gets 500 power for each of your other Hololive characters. So 2k makes her 11/5. With the combo, will make her at least, so that is 11/5, makes her a 12/5. Sorry, I had to do math again. She heals on play, really good. And so this is a little bit of a mouthful, a little bit of a wordy effect. And there's even one part in here that I don't get. It's just kind of weird. But it doesn't matter. We are going to try to get through this and try to follow as best as I can. So, when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, if Welcome to the Kiryu Club is in your Climax area, this card gets the color red. That's the only off part about this. But anyway, until the end of the turn. And you may pay the cost right here up to 5 times. Pay 1, pitch 1. That is the cost. You perform the following action up to the number of times that you paid that cost plus 1. You put the bottom 3 cards of your opponent's deck into their waiting room. If there's a climax amongst those cards, deal 1 damage to your opponent. So it's only a burn 1 each time, but you're also only milling like 3. I know there's other cards that, in terms of this kind of a burn effect, are like, oh, mill like, make your opponent send like the bottom 4 or 5 cards of their deck and burn accordingly to how many climaxes are there. This is just as long as there's 1 there, burn 1. But it's a very cheap cost because of that. But you can just like pay out your entire hand at level 3 and do this just multiple times for a lot of potential burn. And that is really cool. And that's on top of her damage as well, which is really cool. So just as an example, if you paid this effect 3 times, it's 3 plus 1 off of this effect. So you would make your opponent mill the bottom 3 cards of their deck 4 times for potential of burning 1 4 times if you hit a climax each time. Don't expect to get it like for every single mill, but being able to do it multiple times ensures that you could possibly do it like multiple times. That being said, you can get multiples of these off if you want to try to keep your damage a little bit separate, but as long as you get 1 for your end game, you can just pay out like almost your entire hand and just do that. Not saying to do that, but I have done at least like a paid the cost like 3 or 4 times in one effect, and it's really cool. So obviously that's what the deck's based around, and let's get on to the rest of the deck. 2 copies of this Calliope Mori, one of the best girls in English. So 3/2/9/5. On attack, give another one of your Hololive characters 2k power for the turn. So this is really useful to give this to the Coco since it has to reverse. Up to 1 time per turn during the turn this was placed on stage from hand. When damage dealt by this card is cancelled, you can mill the top card. You put the top card of your deck into the waiting room. Deal X damage to your opponent. X is equal to the level of that card plus 1. So it's like Musashi from Kantai Collection. Really good. And like I said, the buff is very relevant. Just more burn. Then we have 2 copies of, this is called Backup Strats. Summer Vacation Akai Hato. It's a 3/2, 10,500 attack. It's from the trial deck, and this is absolutely hilarious. If your opponent has a board that this Coco isn't going to be able to reverse cards or some shit, Hachimo just comes in and goes, I don't care, drop a meteor. she's like Madara Uchiha. She just drops a meteor. During the turn that this card is placed on stage from your hand at the beginning of your attack phase, you may put all players' characters except this card into their waiting rooms. It just nuke the entire field. Especially if you don't lose like maybe 1 or 2 cards off of this because you're like, I'm just going to get rid of everything my opponent owns and holds dear. If you do, this card gets the following ability until end of turn. Up to 1 time per turn, when damage dealt by this card is canceled, you may deal 3 damage to your opponent. That's just a free thing for just nuking the field. She has an additional effect, which has come into play a couple times, but just for extra burn. When this card attacks, you can pay 2, pitch 2, deal 2 damage to your opponent. If you need like precise damage as well, this is pretty cool. Especially because you can do this, and if you don't have like a climax in play, she's poking for 2, and her burn effect is going for 2 as well. If you need like precise damage, that is pretty cool. For being technically an oversized, she really doesn't have a drawback. I thought that was kind of crazy that she's actually a little bit stronger than usual. She doesn't have to reverse, and this nuking the field is, you may put all. It's optional, which is really cool. So it's not a forced effect. I'm kind of surprised there's no true drawback on this. So 2 copies of this. It has been very fun. 4 copies of the early play Suisei 3285 can be early played if you have 4 or more other Hololive characters, and it can be played without fulfilling color requirements. This is very powerful. During your turn, this card gets 500 power for each of your Hololive characters, and on play you can discard a card to heal from clock to stock. So I feel this is just a mandatory 4 of as long as you can afford them. They're like $5 a piece right now, at least at the making of this video. That is it for the 3s. For the level 2s, which, you know, the Suicide can be played early, so I only included a couple level 2s. But I also wanted to include some anyway because of the choice needing to use Soul Trigger icons. Is a 2-1, the strongest greeting Natsuhiro Matsuri. It's a 7k. During your turn, she gets 1,000 for each of your other Hololives. Pretty cool. When the battle opponent becomes reversed, if you have a climax in play, you can choose a Hololive character in your waiting room and put it into your stock. Build up a little bit extra stock, setting up for the Coco plays as well. You know, it's just as long as you have either of the climaxes in play. You can even use this at level 3 if you wanted to build a little bit extra to pay for more of the Coco, but it works out regardless. Next, we have 2 copies of The Summer With You, Yozora Mel. It is a 1-1. It's a 2k backup, and when you play the backup, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Hololive, put it into your hand, and then discard 1 card. So that's really cool. Next, we have 2 copies of this Watame. It is also a 1-1. It's a 2k backup, and when you use this backup, if all of your characters are Hololive, you can put the top card of your deck into your stock. So it pays for itself. The reason I have these particular backups in here is because they do have the Soul Trigger icon, and you're able to grab those off of the choice triggers. And to continue with the ones, we have 4 copies of, this is a trial deck card as well, Air Streaming Hosho Marine. It's a 104k. If you have 2 or more of the Hololive, it gains 2k. So it's a 106k. Up to 1 time per turn when this card becomes reversed in battle. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 2 or higher, you can rest her. So there's a coin flip effect. There's a chance she can rest, but there's no like drawbacks to this card in any shape, form, or fashion. If you get it, you get it. If not, you don't. It's all good. So then we have this Shiranui Flare. This card gets 500 power for each of your other Hololive characters. It has a cost that you can pay, but you don't necessarily have to gain advantage to get the advantage of adding cards to hand. So when this attacks, if you have the climax in play and you have another Hololive, look at the top card of your deck, choose up to 1 particular 3rd generation event or Hololive character amongst them, add it to your hand. That's the effect. Then, if you do that, you may pay cost, which is 1 stock. And if you do, you get to do the twin drive effect. So if you know that like the very next card, which for twin drive is you get to perform trigger check twice. If you know that like, oh, I just triggered one of my climaxes, let's go ahead and pay it out. So that's about the only time I really use it. But you don't have to pay stock to gain the top check and add to hand effect. But because of that, this can, you know, this is a much more defensive card. It can be a 106k as well, just like the Marine. But the Noel right here can give it a bonus buff. We'll get to that in a minute. to make her a bit more defensive, and I've really liked being able to get the advantage multiple turns in a row. So that is it for the ones. Getting into the zeros, we have 4 copies of this Autumn Path Kiryu Coco. She's a 003K. She can't side attack, but she's a what is known as a clean cut. When her battle opponent becomes reversed, choose one of your other Hololive characters, rest it, move it to an open position of your backstage. Really good, and I love Coco. We gotta have more Coco in here. Speaking of more Coco, here's some more Coco. 002K, dramatic scene in the office Kiryu Coco. When she's in the middle position of your center stage, she gets +1 soul. Pretty cool. And when this is placed on stage from hand, pay 1, pitch 1, search your deck for a Hololive. So drop searcher that can have extra soul. This is really good. This is a 3-0. So next, I initially was running more copies of this Noelle because it's a Brainstormer, but I did more testing with this Matsuri, and they both worked really well, so I did a 2-2 split. So this Matsuri is a 0015. She has 2 different act abilities. You can either rest her to give one of your level 1 or higher characters plus 1500 power, which is really nice if you're able to give this to the Flare, who already gets big as it is, able to get a bit bigger. So pretty cool, but you can only choose one of these effects because they're both tap effects. The next is the Brainstorm one of pay 1, rest this card, mill 4, for every climax you get to salvage back a Hololive. So really good, and like I said, I did the 2-2 split and it worked out really well. So next is the Climax Swapper. This Wishing for a Future together with you, Hakui Koyori. Also, if she's in the middle position of your center stage, she gets +1 soul as well. But when she's placed on stage, you can pay 1, pitch a climax to grab back a climax from waiting room. So if you're sitting on like an extra copy of the Flare, but you need the Coco one, you just do the swap. So really cool. Plus the extra soul thing between her and the Coco is really cool. So next we have the Brainstormer. I went with first because of the buffing effect. If you have 2 or more other Hololive characters, all of your other flower viewing with you Shiranui Flare, and there's a level 3 Rushia that it buffs as well, but we don't run that. But the Flare gains an extra 1000 power. So where this Flare is a 106k if you have a full field defensively, with this Noelle, she's a 107k defensively. That's really good. I've really liked being able to have that defense, especially being able to get like these 2k backups, making certain my opponent can't get over. And then her Brainstorm is a pay 1, tap herself, mill 5 for each draw a card. So really good. I just like doing the split. And depending on which one you get out, obviously this Rushia is also very good as well. She is a 001k. She's a 500 assist in front, and when you play a climax, you can choose one of your characters, give it 1000 power till end of turn. Just really good. It's Married Life Rushia. For anyone who knows Asana's Married Life from SAO. Basically, mirror copy of that. So yeah, and then obviously 4 copies of In a Town Where Snow Falls, which is the Flare climax, and 4 copies of Welcome to the Kiryu Club, which is the Coco one. Yeah, this deck is really fun, and I'm going to work on this one a lot more over time. This has been my favorite iteration so far, and I've got several deck builds I'm working on and test playing, especially thanks to the simulator and being able to do a lot of test playing with Moroku and Joe up there. This has been extremely fun, and I want to see it grow even more, especially with Volume 2 coming out, and some of the cards that I've seen in there should make for some very interesting combos, just saying. But with that, thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you wish, and if not, hey, thanks for checking it out. Test out the deck for yourself and see what you think, and we will see y'all on the flip side. Peace.